keynote was a great introduction because he really talked a lot about holistic education and thinking about the student as a whole person. And actually that's what we decided to do when we took another look at our new faculty seminar at Bronx Community College. Prior to this year, the new faculty seminar was basically an orientation. Once a month, you went to a room, you got a whole bunch of flyers, you met a couple people from the college, and that was pretty much it. It was kind of like an orientation to a job, but it really didn't look at the instructor as an entire person or think about their career at the college. And so we basically took a complete rethink and we redid how we're doing new faculty seminars. And so now it's a year-long program, and we've added a whole number of components. Go to the next one. We address the thing that the instructors are thinking about right away, that when they come into the classroom that first semester, they're freaking out about getting teaching done, right? So we hit the semester milestones. How do you do grades? How do you do advisement? All the things that they're really worried about. We also address career expectations. So we ask them to think about their whole career. You've gotten a job, now what are you going to do with that job? What are the things you can do? What are the things you need to think about? We look at pedagogy, and we actually have them explicitly exploring pedagogy in their classroom and in discussions with each other. We have them actually do assessment in their classrooms, and they build assessment projects, which Charlotte's going to talk about. And we look at it as an opportunity to really build community among the faculty and build community on the campus. Technology is an integral part of this. Prior to this, in an orientation, we never really talked about technology. You might find out where Wanda was and who to go talk to if your email wasn't working, but that was pretty much it. We really didn't talk about instructional technology or anything else. In our seminar, we use our technology as a way of reaching and working with our faculty. So we have faculty mentors, that's the three of us. We have technology mentors, that's Mark and Albert, who are both integral in getting this particular conference off the ground, and Delvar, who you've seen around here in one of those red shirts. And then, of course, all the new faculty. So the faculty who participate in this are full-time faculty members who were hired to start in either the fall of 2014 or the spring of 2015. Here's some.
There they are.
Yeah. The timeline, it's now a year-long workshop. So we have 3-hour workshops once a month in the fall. There's a 3-day workshop in January, and then again 4 3-hour workshops in the spring. And the faculty are compensated with reassigned time in the spring for participating, because we now demand a lot more of them than used to happen in the old kind of orientation model. And so what we ask them to do, first of all, they have to show up, that's attendance. And then in the fall, we ask them to do small things, short assignments, blog posts, that sort of stuff, because the chairpersons basically told us we weren't allowed to overload them in the fall, which was actually a very good idea. And what that allowed us to do is give them a more in-depth workshop in January. And in that case, we're getting them to think a lot more and a lot more interactive work. We're also making sure they're all ready to put in their reappointment papers, because that's when they're all due. And then in the spring, again, attendance, but we have 3 separate things they're each required to submit. This Friday is when they're doing this. So they have to have a career plan, they're actually creating e-portfolio for their teaching, and they're actually doing a classroom assessment project, and their results should be at the end of May. When it comes to technology, in the workshops, we actively use Blackboard and e-portfolio. So we use Blackboard as a learning management system. All the materials we provide to them, we provide through Blackboard. All communication goes through Blackboard. We let them keep track of their progress through Blackboard the way you would in any sort of classroom. And so really the idea here is to have the instructor, the faculty members, experience what it's like to be a teacher using the technology they will be using with their students. And so that's how we teach, that's how we run these workshops, and that's how we use Blackboard in that setting. In addition, they're given an introduction to portfolio, and they're using a portfolio to build their own portfolios. And so again, they're using another very heavily used instructional technology in a way that hopefully they will then have their students be using in the future.
And there's also there's a group e-portfolio that they all will reflect, especially in the first semester and going into January. They reflect on readings and conversations that they've had face-to-face that continues on online. So they engage in the way that you might have a student engage in discussions.
In addition, we provide guidance on all the other technology they run into as a faculty member at CUNY. everything from our local system, OSIS, which is being phased out, to CUNY First and the portal and the libraries, which of course are, each of those has its own separate sign-on right now. Then all the other specific things about how to duplicate materials and how to deal with the PPS on campus and how to use the calendars from the various different systems. And so all that sort of stuff that you run into and you often find yourself floundering, we try to help orient them. So if you go to the next one. So, right, Blackboard and ePortfolio, go ahead. Our Blackboard site and our group ePortfolio site. So one of the things we've done is provide these kind of really short one-page sheets to help them find stuff. So it looks very, very busy. I understand you can't read it. The top is all the things they need to know their password for. Unique logins and passwords. This one is the systems that are unique to BCC, that use the BCC sign-ins. And then these are all the other things they might need. How to get New York Times. How to get all the stuff you get on individually through your email system, or someone might send out a memo and you're supposed to remember all those different memos. We've compiled them so they're in one easy place to find for the faculty, so they're not floundering trying to find these things, and so they're aware of them. So the semester milestones I mentioned, how do you make sure that the faculty member understands all the things they need to do their first semesters on campus? We address everything from commencement attendance and how to file the various types of grades to making sure they understand this process of reappointment and when everything is due. Advisement, course withdrawals, and so our job as mentors is to help make sure they know the dates and remind them when important dates are coming up. Know the resources they can use and where they're located, both the people and the technology resources. Provide guidance, and then those reminders throughout the semester. So for example, this is a semester milestone that basically covers the whole spring semester, and it has all the important dates. It's color-coded. You don't have to know why the color coded. There's a key at the bottom, and it tells them which ones they're responsible for, which ones the students are responsible for, which ones they should remind people about, that sort of stuff. And so each semester there's a new one with updated dates. We also teach them how to use the calendar system. So, for example, BCC's calendar pretty much only shows up the week before classes, whereas, of course, CUNY has a year and a half to 2 years in advance. So at least you can look ahead at the CUNY calendar to figure out when you're going to have like spring break and next spring, right? And so all that. And then this is another one specifically on how to do academic progress reports and midterm grades at BCC. I'm also responsible for the career piece, so career planning. That's kind of my bailiwick for the mentors. And so we wanted our faculty members to come in and instead of only thinking about the next emergency or the next thing they have to do in class that semester, start thinking in terms of long term. What do I want to do as a faculty member on this campus? Who do I need to talk to? How do I make connections with other faculty members both in my department and outside of my department? And so we get them started thinking about that right away. And so we address career planning, all the teaching they're doing, how do you document it so that you can include that in your papers? How to navigate that particular process, what to expect, who to talk to, what the various committees are, they're going to be voting on them, that sort of thing. How to conduct scholarship and all the resources that are available for them for scholarship. How our campus is organized. Who are all those people in those various departments, and who do you need to talk to if you need to get something done, and which vice president is responsible for which other thing. How governance works, and then of course, all the things you can do as a faculty member. Because we're hired to be instructors. And even at a community colleges, many of us are not trained in teaching. We're trained in subject matter, how to do research in our discipline. There are a number of people, especially at a community college, who also have educational training, but a lot of people don't. The other thing we often do as faculty members that we never talk about is management. Leadership and management skills, which nobody's trained in except for a few people over in business. And we never talk about that, but there are all these roles you can have as a faculty member that involve those skills. And so if you want to be chair someday, shouldn't you know what skills are necessary to do it well and how to get those skills? And so those are some things we talk about as well with this group. And so again, another one of my one-sheeters. This is specifically on how to navigate reappointment, tenure, and promotion. It's got the committees that are going to vote on the person, who the chairpersons are, so they actually know the names of the people who are going to be passing judgment on them. The actual detailed process, all the copies of things they've got to hand in. And then at the bottom, references. How to get to the governance plan for the college, how to get to the bylaws, all the information. Where did this information come from? So they have the primary sources they can go back to. So That's my piece. So next is going to be pedagogy, and Jordy's going to take over from here.
So, yes, and what Laura was saying earlier about trying to integrate all of these elements into one approach has been very important to us from the very beginning. The three of us do slightly different things, career, pedagogy, and assessment, but we've seen it from the very beginning as an integrated process so that the faculty don't look at it as separate blocks, but rather the blocks that come together. So what is it that we really try to concentrate on the pedagogical side? We try to actually bring our new faculty up to speed very quickly on the realities of our students. A lot of them are lacking academic skills. They're not prepared to be college students. Those of us that teach in the Bronx, right, we all know these tend to be issues, the realities of our students when they come on campus. And at the same time, our students are they're very intelligent in different ways. Sometimes their experiential intelligence, as I like to call it, is often very high. So how do you actually take them from being people that consider themselves to be, in many ways, either failures or have the high potential for failure in society? How can we take that and turn our students into confident and successful students? We actually have developed over a number of years, a number of us here in the Bronx, or at Bronx Community College, a number of pedagogical approaches. And when we thought we were about approaching new faculty seminar, we thought rather than deal with faculty as faculty, why not deal with them as what they really are? And that is students in the life of academia, right? And so at that level, our pedagogical element really concentrates or sort of looks at our faculty as students. We take them through similar experiences that we take our own students at BCC through. And so one of the big things a big obstacle that we have to fight constantly at BCC is the issue of failure. Students fail in class for a different number of reasons. Sometimes, and I would say mainly because of a lack of confidence, but sometimes it's a form of resistance. Sometimes it's definitely a cry for help, as I have up here. But we actually want to take failure and have it become the beginning of a new process of learning, so that you can actually digest what failure has meant to you and build from it instead of just dropping out, which is what a lot of our students will do unless we help them along. So when we look at faculty, we do try to teach them as students. We want to take them through some of the same thresholds of learning that we want to take students through so that they can become confident and effective community college faculty. We want them to become engaged in active learning, high impact active learning strategies that we have workshops on for our already established faculty at BCC. We want our new faculty to actually accept this and engage in these strategies from the very beginning so that it becomes part of their culture as faculty. I like this notion of always being in a liminal state, the uncomfortable state of learning. So you're not really truly comfortable as a faculty member. We're bombarding them with a lot of new ideas and putting them in situations that make them feel slightly uncomfortable, because that's when your brain is moving the fastest and trying to, keep you alive, let's say. This liminal state is critical to approaching faculty, I think. Otherwise, they just look at you as somebody that is passing information on to them. And so we want to develop faculty that are their approach to teaching and learning involves a great deal the metacognitive process of actually coming to understand what they're doing. They're not just passing on content or addressing disciplinary specific content, but they're actually engaging students in how to learn to think and recognize how they're thinking, so that sort of metacognitive element becomes a mainstay of how they approach their education. So if we can get faculty to think that way, then we can actually get students more easily involved in their courses that way. ePortfolio and Blackboard are the technologies we use, and we use it in a very active way. Blackboard is very good for delivering content in many ways and also engaging in discussions. What we do with ePortfolio is engage much more of the aesthetic element of the pedagogy combined with the interactive. Here you have an example of a page of our new faculty seminar ePortfolio where you have, see the new faculty are listed on the side here. We engage them in assignments that we could use in a classroom. We actually have them do these assignments to see themselves as students and engage in what you're looking at here is the development of a digital persona or image of oneself. And after they read and engage text that we've given them, they then reflect on the ePortfolio together. So they're reading each other's work and reflecting on it. It's surprising. I mean, it sounds kind of silly, but it's surprising how impressed they become with this crazy idea of reflecting and sharing ideas. It's something that a lot of us have read about, but to engage in it as faculty, as if we were students, I think is really empowering. So what is it that we want? We want faculty to become to have the confidence to feel that everything that they do in class is theirs, that they have been the authors behind the sort of the pedagogical approach that they end up choosing. That their discipline can be brought together with a lot of the more progressive pedagogical approaches. That they are the owners of what they do. That this is not just something that is expected of them by their department or by their discipline. That leads to a level of pride, a development of a sense of community, because here we have 24 new faculty and they're from different disciplines and they're all sharing different notions together on how to approach their teaching. And the fact that they then communicate that with each other. So on the one hand, we're using technology to have them share different reactions to pedagogical approaches, develop their own approach, and then by sharing it, they create a new community of new faculty on campus, changing radically what we've had up to this point. So here are examples of new faculty that are presenting themselves to each other. We had them do this little exercise where they had to quickly come up with catchy phrases. This is one of my favorites here. This is a throwback to what we saw in the talk earlier. And so now I hand it over to Shiloh.
Hi. So I'm going to show you what we did with classroom assessment. When we think about assessment, we think that we should, do some things that we can please, the college or middle states or something like that. But we wanted to show them how assessment can be meaningful. And not doing course assessment or program assessment, it is assessment begins at home. It's assessment that you do in your classroom. You try something new. We all try new strategies in class, but we don't always document how the students reacted to it or what the student performance was. I mean, we teach something good, we come out and say, that went really well. I tried this, the students loved it. But we don't document it. So one of the things we wanted to get them started right at the beginning was to get the new faculty in the habit of planning an assessment project, a small assessment, even if it's something small like, let's say you're trying a flipped classroom, or the threshold concepts that Jody was just talking about, scaffolding, or writing to learn as a learning skills development. Any strategy that you try, and I think all of us try something creative all the time, and teaching is a highly creative process. But if you were to document the reactions and the student perceptions and performance data, it might actually give you allow you to understand how well the students perform and plan for the future and try something different. So here's what we did. It was a classroom assessment project was actually proposed by Patricia Cross, I think in the 80s, and she wrote a book called Classroom Assessment Project, and she actually outlines how to plan a little classroom strategy, not a big course assessment or anything, but just with your own learning outcomes. So one of the things, so we started with, I showed them how to use learning outcomes, come up with learning outcomes. How do you write a learning outcome if you didn't know how to do it? what are your expectations? What do you expect? Is it 70% of the students do well or 60%? How do you come up with a benchmark? Collecting data, and before you collect data, what is your assessment vehicle? What are you going to? You try something new in class. How are you going to test it? What are you going to use to test it? Is it an exam? Is it a quiz? Is it an oral presentation? So pick your assessment vehicle even before, when you're planning, pick your assessment vehicle. So I'm going to try this. So how do I know that they got it? Or how do they do well? And then the assessment tool, am I going to use a Scantron? Or are you going to use a rubric? What are you going to use? Or just hand grading? So that's what they did. So we did this in January. And then in last few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, was it last week?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Okay. 2 weeks ago, we actually had our new faculty present their classroom assessment projects that they had tried in the classroom. This is just a small sample. We actually had quite a number of them. We'll show you the numbers in a second. There were different things that they tried in the classroom, used a flipped classroom, they used community building. So they tried different things, but each one of these had elements that I just talked about. They used the camp planning, they identified learning outcomes, they designated a benchmark, they had an assessment vehicle, they had an assessment tool, and they showed how everything worked. Many of these results are, of course, preliminary because they just started using them. But what was significant about this was that almost every single faculty member who had developed this, when I talked to them, they said, "Oh, this is great because we could use this, to expand when we." That's the whole point, is for us to get them started on something, so that when they move on to the second year, they'll be like, yeah, you know what, I started this, I could expand this, I know where to fix it, and and when people talk about assessment, they don't have to cringe. They can think, this is meaningful, and the most important thing about assessment is that if it's meaningful. If it's not meaningful, don't do it. So that's. Oh, we have 1 minute. Okay, so let me do the numbers really quick. 26 faculty members began in the fall. 24 faculty are still participating. 21 participated in the pre-surveys. And 20 faculty members attended each of the workshops. And 21 of the new faculty members participated in the BCC's Faculty Day poster session. Is that the end? Oh,
Keep going.
On average, 19 faculty members completed feedback forms for each of the workshops. And 64% said that they were very helpful. This is our assessment, of how things went. And only 0.2% said that something was not helpful. So there they are. There's their feedback from teaching. They like the hands-on work, setting up rubrics and assessment and grading. The connections to the e-portfolio were great. And here are some of their responses.
And if you give us
Go
just
ahead.
30 more seconds, keep going through these. This is the interesting thing, the personal development of the faculty. The other one was about the courses, what they were integrating. But this is what we really wanted to get at, is the development of the whole, the faculty member as a whole. That all these different elements came together and made the faculty member feel like they were part of this larger college community, but that they themselves could have an influence and impact on the way that the college was going to proceed, or move forward. And in fact, all of our new faculty participated in our recent new faculty. Faculty Days is like a little conference that we have for all of our faculty on campus. All of them participated in it right out of the gate, first year on campus, and it got them noticed by the rest of the college community in a very positive way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.